Aloha, my name is Jake SHIMABUKURO. I'm an ukulele player, born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. Excited to be back here in Kirkland. I'm here with Mark from Eclectic Arts Media, and we've done many interviews together, but always exciting to be back. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, Jake, welcome back to Washington State, because you've got 4 shows lined up here in Washington, not just in this area. So I know you've been here in Kirkland at this venue. I actually saw you in January of 2022 here.
That's right, yeah.
And then you were here before in 2019. And so this is actually my hometown. So it's great that you're playing my hometown of Kirkland, Washington.
Thank you. And well, thanks for always coming out and supporting the shows. I mean, you're always so generous with your time and always helping to get the word out to audiences in the community and all over for things that musicians and local artists are doing. So thank you for your support. Always.
Thank you. I mean, just watching you do sound check, I go back to the first time I ever heard you I'm just mesmerized by your virtuosity on the instrument. Doesn't matter how many times I've seen you, it's just watch him play.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is, we're very excited. This is, it's 4 shows in Washington State, and this is kicking off our holiday tour. So it's that time of year where we get to dust off the old Christmas and holiday repertoire and kind of, get to play these for the next couple months. And it's always fun. You never know how it's going to go, especially the first night. So I'm already in my head thinking I wonder if we can pull that one off tonight, or should we save it for another night? So, but yeah, we'll see. We got some arrangements for some new holiday songs. I think it'll be nice to kind of hit those.
Awesome. I think what's really nice too is that for fans, we get to hear holiday tunes, some of your classic tunes, and also you have the new album Grateful out as well.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of things to pull from.
Yeah, it's been this new record Grateful. It's been just putting it together for me was such a great experience, because it's my second collaborative record, but this one I got to record with the musicians that I started out listening to when I was a kid. My parents used to take me to their concerts when I was just a little boy, and I would be right up there sitting in the front row, watching them. And so this was really a project that kind of took me back to my roots, and I love the way that it turned out. It feels like home for me. And there's an old Japanese saying, it's Okage-sama de, which means I am what I am because of you. And that's really the theme of this record. It's all those musicians that are based in Hawaii that inspired me and mentored me and really made me the musician that I am today. So the title of the album is Grateful, which was titled after Justin Kavika Young's song Grateful. And he and I, started out our music careers together back home in Hawaii. And this song to me really captures the spirit and the essence and the message, of this project, because it's really about being grateful for all those that came before us, that made the sacrifices and helped to guide us and mentor us so that we could have a better life today and be better off, be better today than we would have been had Okage-sama. I'm trying to say that.
Yeah, no, it's got to be such a tremendous feeling for you going into a recording studio with people that you saw as a younger person, people that you looked up to. That, again, you said your mom and dad brought you to these shows. That would be sometimes for me, if I'm in a photo pit and I'm shooting somebody like yourself or someone else that I'm there was such an influence on myself as a fan, and then here I am. It's almost unbelievable. That's a little surreal. That's even happening.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how how I felt. I mean, you know, some of a lot of them, like I wouldn't even have had the courage to ask them. I mean, someone like Henry Capono, you know, who's a legend in Hawaii. You know, the reason, the way that came about was we just coincidentally happened to be on the same flight going back to Honolulu. And I remember walking on the airplane and I saw Henry Capono sitting at the window, and I looked at my ticket and I was like, oh my goodness, my seat is right next to him. So I walked up to him and I said, oh, Uncle Henry, is it okay if I sit next to you? And he looked at me and he said, well, is that your seat? So I said, yeah, that's my seat. So he said, well, I guess you better sit there then. But, you know, I was just, you know, you just get so nervous, right? You know, you see your heroes like that. But it was so cool because I sat next to him and, you know, we got to talk. And it was the first time, I mean, other than hi and bye, it was the first time that we actually got to sit down and have a real meaningful conversation. And he shared, you know, how he got into music and some of his early experiences, stories that I had never heard before. So sitting with him on that flight, man, was just so, was so moving. And as we landed, he said, hey, you know, so yeah, if you ever, you know, if you ever want to do something together, you know, let him know. And I said, really? So I said, well, actually, I'm working on this duets record right now. You know, I would love for you to be a part of it. And he said, yeah, man, just give me a call. Let him know. I'd love to. And you know, a couple weeks later, we're in the studio recording his iconic song, "Sailing." So it's little things like that, you know, that just that made this project so special. You know, it's not just the end result, but it was the whole process of how it all came together. And you know, it's really the moments in the recording studio before we start recording, you know, that make things special. I mean, you know, some of the songs on the album, I mean, it was just like the first or second take, and everything was recorded live. But you know, we spent like 4 or 5 hours in the studio because the first 4 hours were just talking story, catching up and laughing, and at some point we're like, oh, we better go record this song, you know, and then we get in there and we'll kind of lay it out. But it's all about the relationships and, you know, the connection, right, that we all have. I mean, I think of all the ukulele players that truly paved the way, you know, for us, and people like Eddie Kamai and Ota-san, Roy Sukuma, Israel Kamakavivole. I mean, you know, the list goes on and on, right? I mean, just thinking about all the players alive today, you know, still that are still actively playing, you know, like you know, Byron Usui, Benny Chong, you know, I think of Kelly Boy de Lima, Troy Fernandez, I think of Gordon Warwick, who recently just passed. You know, he was another huge mentor for me. Herbolton Jr., Brian Tolentino. Yeah, just, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But you know, but they were the players who taught me and really mentored me. You know, I mean, even I think about all my teachers like Tracy Terada, Tammy Omoro, Akiyama. My mom was actually my first teacher, you know, so just thinking about all those people that helped to get me where I am today, you know, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. So I'm very grateful.
Well, I love, with all the artists I've had the pleasure of interviewing, either in person or virtual, when I come across an artist who's very humble and very grateful for the things that where they came from, the people that had an influence and an impact on them. And I'd say more often than not, people are of the same mindset. I mean, they realize I didn't just get here. I mean, there's always other people that helped me along the way.
Yeah.
And there's still people helping me along the way to help further my career or the things I want to do artistically. And it's for me personally, it's such a great reminder about, you know, don't forget about all these other people around you. And also don't forget about the really good people too, because sometimes you have the ones that aren't so good. You don't need to spend time with them. There's all these other good ones over here. So don't get caught up in trying to chase, you know, what's on the other side of the hill, when it turns out maybe the other side of the hill isn't so great because it's already great over here. I kind of get caught up with trying to, how do I further what my media outlet does? How do I get to the next level? And sometimes, you know what? You could be spending more time with all these great, wonderful people over here. How come you're dividing your time and spending it over here. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's, at least for me during the pandemic time, that's when I kind of paused like everybody else had to and realized, you know what, there's some really great people here that I should be spending more time and cultivating more with them instead of kind of like doing this and kind of looking over to see what else is over here. And it's been such a change for me, for the better, that I've aligned yourself with good people and to keep cultivating those relationships. And then it seems to kind of take you into relationships with like people from their circle that are also good, and just kind of spreads. And then it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
And so when you have all these folks that have influenced you, again, it's just amazing. Anytime people ask me about what Jake's like, when I get a chance to talk to you, I'm like, he's the most unassuming, humble person I've ever met. And it's true. Don't ever change. Because I think back to our first interview, which was at Benaroya Hall. Yeah, you guys were backstage, you're eating, and I felt really like bad because you guys were in the middle of dinner and everything, and you're so gracious. Mark, would you like to go grab a plate and you can sit down? And I was like, no, I'll just stand over here at this other table and let you guys do your thing. And and then you guys, I think Dave was the first one to start talking to me. He's like, just asking me questions, and I'm like, okay, I guess I should have a conversation, but I just felt like I should be outside in the hallway, not in your room.
No, not at all.
So that told me a lot from that moment on. Obviously, we've done other interviews since then. Nothing's changed, and I love that fact. Again, you're the same person I met 5-6 years ago, and I saw you even further back, like in 2014, as a fan. So I'm like, wow, I wonder what he's like, and I can say, well, I've met Jake, and he's an amazing human being.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. As we kind of get close to wrapping this up, yeah, we are the first start of this tour, and you're going to be touring right up to close before Christmas time in December. And you've been on, especially since, out of COVID, late 2021, you've been on the road a lot. I mean, you've been doing a leg of shows, probably going back home, do a leg of shows, go home. Are you enjoying that to an extent, or is it like getting into a grind at this point after a couple of years of like constantly doing shows? I know you have a family and everything.
I love it, like performing and doing music, like that's my passion. I absolutely love it. I mean, when I'm on stage and get to perform, like I'm just having so much fun, just being in the moment, and I just love that feeling of creating in the moment, and just, I don't know, just like that whole experience, right? And that exchange with the audience as well. But on the flip side, I do miss my family and all that, so I mean, in a perfect world, I wish like after every show I could just be transported back to my home and see my kids and all that. But we have I think it's you never find a perfect balance, but I'm just grateful wherever I am. When I'm home, I just love that time that I get to spend with my family, and then and then when I'm on the road, I wanna do the best that I can here, and always give my best effort, because someday, like I want my kids to find something that they're passionate about, and and if I can kind of be a role model, for them, for that, to find something that they're very passionate about and they believe in, and because they see me practice and put in the time, and so hopefully they'll see that and find something that they love, and sometimes it may take them away from home, but everyone's got to find their balance, and we all hope to do something that, I mean, like for me, I just hope that through my passion, I get to, I just want to bring something, positive into the world, and I love doing it, so I'm always grateful for the opportunity to be able to play, I mean, it's been, like you mentioned, during the pandemic, I think a lot of that was lost, but I think now that we all realize how important, you know, that sense of community and people coming together. We don't take that for granted. And music and the arts is just such a great way to bring people together, you know, because when you bring people together in music and through the arts, you know, it's like we all get to experience something together at the same time. And I feel like that's so powerful and so needed. You know, we don't have those experiences as much anymore. I mean, even as something as like back in the day, like we all used to watch on a certain night, there was like a new like a television premiere or like a new show or something, right? And we all had to watch it on this Friday night at 7 p.m. You know, it was gonna be on, and then we could all watch it. And even if we weren't together, we were at, you know, at our own homes, but the next day when we saw each other, we could all talk about it. Oh, that was so cool, you know? And like that, I think, brings us closer because we had a shared experience, you know, and I think it's in our nature to wanna always share. Like, we want someone to experience what we experience because then we feel like we're connected. I mean, even if it's something as simple as like, oh my goodness, these strawberries are so good, you gotta try one, right? And it's like they try it, oh, yeah, they're so, and then that instant connection. I think that I think we need more moments like that, you know, and music and the arts, you know, it does that on a mass scale. So I'm always thrilled to be part of experiences like that.
Very well said. And especially when you're at a concert or a theater or a play, a musical, everyone's there for the same reason. They want to be entertained, they want to have a good time, and that communal feeling, especially from stage to audience and audience back to the stage, it just kind of feeds itself and gets bigger and bigger, and you can feel it, you know, that's like that was a really, really great show because that energy level got so crazy. And it's all going the same direction. It's not somebody pulling over this way and someone going over here because they want to, it's like, no, you're all there for the same reason. It's it was absolutely missed during the pandemic. And I know you were doing live streams, I was doing live streams, and then was trying to figure out some way to have that community back, and it was like, it was the best we could do at the time. But when you're having in-person exchanges of energy, there's no substitute for it.
I agree.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to mention was that are we going to get to hear more from Jackson on the microphone tonight? Because I know a year ago, it was kind of mentioned that he's a little shy on stage.
Yeah.
And I think did he tell a joke or something last year?
Well, you know, we always put a microphone up for Jackson in case he ever wants to say something. And, you know, because, I mean, public speaking, it's scary. I mean, it's scary to get up into a microphone and speak in front of a group of people. I mean, it's scary enough even without the microphone, you know, so you put the mic up there and it can be very intimidating, you know. So, you know, so I always try to encourage him, but never want to force him, you know. But every once in a while he'll walk up to the mic and say like, "Well, thank you for coming to the show," or something. Yeah, and I think that's great, right? It's just and people love hearing from him. I think it's great too for people who see that, you know, especially for kids who don't like to get up in front of a group of people and speak, and it's good for them to see that. Even for adults, you know, it can be very scary, and then when they actually see Jackson go up and say something, I think that's very powerful, you know, because they're like, wow, you know, he's super shy, but you know, he actually said something, and the audience all supported, you know. So I think it's a great, it's just something, it's a moment that I think is good for kids in the audience, you know, because you never know who's out there. You know, unfortunately, he doesn't always have the courage to speak every night, but you know, on the nights that he does, it's great.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens tonight then at the,
Yeah,
at the
we'll
sold
see.
out show. First night of the tour might be a bit much for him, but or maybe he'll feel really comfortable
We'll
and
see,
say,
we'll
you know what, I'm gonna get up there and say thank you. I'm gonna say something. I just remember, last time I think that may have been the first time I heard him say something on the microphone, which and you make a really, really good point about him being a role model for folks that adults and kids that are in the audience that are very, very shy, very, very introverted perhaps, and look. Someone's on stage just like you, and sometimes they might feel comfortable, and sometimes they're not. But they're going to still do their instrument the way they want to. But in terms of speaking, it's like no, I'll let Jake do it. Well, Jake, thank you so much for taking the time. And
always a pleasure. Thank you.
yeah, welcome back, and it's so great that you have a sold out show to start off the tour. I'm sure there's going to be many, many more. Can't wait to see you in about an hour and a half or so on stage.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Happy holidays, everyone. Kicking off the holiday tour in Kirkland. Woohoo!